we all know what the arguments are of yes and no right now, but Warren, what I'm fascinated by is what the early days of this voice will be. Because if South Australia is able to show a benign version with not too many controversial proposals, that's going to be used by the federal parliament and anyone in advocacy of it of how good's this. Conversely, what's going to be very difficult for the Yes campaign is if, as soon as the voice is established, here's a whole bunch of pretty radical things that come up. So it's up to the voice in South Australia to show us what it might be federally. Obviously, you're hailing this as a good day, but is that a potential danger for the wider national conversation when, if some crazy stuff comes out of the voice in Adelaide, that might move some ones against the one in Canberra?
This is a great day. It's a great day to see South Australia adopt their own voice model for their Indigenous communities, and a big congratulations should go to Peter Malinauskas and Kaya Ma, the Attorney General there, who've put so much work into creating this really historic piece of law. I think it will go really well, and it will show Australians a great model of how effective the voice can be at helping Indigenous Australians to realise their goals and aspirations through a government that is listening to them, that is working in partnership with them, and it will also show great models of how these ideas can benefit all of the people in South Australia. We see this on local governments every day with our local government Indigenous advisory panels. They end up helping everybody because it's a great voice to government. Government listens and acts.
So, Warren, how worried are you that the South Australian Labor government, obviously very good at politics, right? Sunday, middle, all of that, right? Like the theatre's great. But they keep the handbrake on the voice so nothing crazy comes out and everyone gets to say, look how good it is in South Australia. What concerns, if any, just again, raw politics, right?
Yeah, raw politics. Look, first of all, I've got to say that, you know, I love Peter Malinauskas because I work for him. And he got me to do the inquiry into prisons and reoffending and that, and we come up with some really good stuff. Look, it is a dangerous game for them to play. Because when you're leading up to the referendum here nationally, this could go very sour for them, and so it's going to be a lot of work in the background to make sure it doesn't go sour for them. I don't support the voice, and there's many reasons why I don't. One of all is built on this falsehood that Aboriginals don't have a voice. We've always had a voice. And I just found it interesting when Albo was on stage the other day talking about a bottom up, not a top down, and he said, like these people on the stage, and everyone on the stage were all public servants, were all people who have been at the top end of and running Aboriginal affairs for the last 30 years, and so all the problems of Aboriginal affairs probably goes back to them, and so I just. You know, and at the same time, I'm a very strong believer in what we have been doing in the last 15 years in regard to lifting better things off. It's interesting, and I can tell you a lot of stories about Ken Wyatt, and I'll be telling a lot of stories about him over the next few months about what he did with Aboriginal education and many other things. And so, look, this is... again, we set up a policy in 2015 about, because I don't know any race of people in the world who's ever got out of poverty without education and economic development.
Correct.
None. Economic, and we put a policy in place. $6.7 million was the Indigenous business sector in the 1st of July 2015. Today, 8 years later, it is worth $8.7 billion, has created 22,000 new jobs, has got education programs where we're getting thousands of people through universities and stuff like that. The problem isn't between Aboriginals and non-Aboriginal. You look at the problem is between Aboriginals in the regional and remote Australia, like white Australians in regional, and people living in the cities and large provincial towns. Correct. So we should be focusing on what's on the ground. And a bunch of people like Albo put up on that stage who have been in charge of Aboriginal affairs for years are not going to flip over overnight. Right. And I know these people too well.